Benjamin Castle are Americans. Watching the footy.
Liam Ryan saying, kick it my way, I want to jump over the pack, and here he comes! Ryan!
This is Buddy Franklin! This is the greatest showman!
Got the handball off to Myers. Myers looking for the lead of Stengel. Gee, they're good. Gee, they're sharp. Razzle dazzle Rioli.
Oh, who else? McDonald!
No,
around the body. Jazz up!
He's off from inside the centre square. Boys kick the goal. Boys kick the goal from inside the centre. Fuck! I can't believe it.
So I was watching Wheel of Fortune tonight, and they do the little introductions with the contestants. One of the guys said, Ryan Seacrest asked him, if he's a big fan of podcasts. And I had my hopes up for about half a second that the guy was going to say, yeah, I listen to these dickheads from California talking about a sport played halfway around the world. Nah, he just likes history podcasts and stuff, which is pretty boring. But they gave me hope for just a moment. I'm Ethan Castle, by the way.
And Benjamin Castle. He is in South San Francisco. I am in San Diego. Good time of day, and welcome to episode 226 of Americans Watching the Footy as we preview what remains of opening round 2025.
I have decided that I am more and more opposed to opening round as this has all gone on. I was open to it at first. I thought, let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. But at this point, I think I'm not a fan, and I'm not a fan because it just doesn't feel like, oh my God, footy's tomorrow, I think just having this come right after the community series and the lack of time to really get into this thing and the lack of every team playing, it just doesn't have the right edge to it. I don't know.
Definitely missing the edge now. Essendon's game got postponed. I'm in agreement with you. Have a full round. I'm not even wanting a sort of split round. You want people to feel like, oh my gosh, it's really footy time. Have everything happening. Yeah, you can have a standalone game on a Thursday night. There's a mashup that always works for that. If you want to take something overseas and try what the NRL did, come to America for a Friday or Saturday.
That is the only situation where I would be okay with there being a game a week before all the others. That I would understand because, with travel stuff, like how baseball is opening in Japan and opened in Korea last year, that at least I can get behind. That makes sense.
It doesn't, especially with the poor weather. I mean, obviously you factor in the tropical cyclone here. Odds are low, but also last year the weather was pretty poor as well. The rain quite literally and figuratively dampened the start of that Melbourne-Sydney game, and it didn't feel like a real rush of, yes, it's footy season.
Did that opening game get delayed last year at all?
No, I don't believe so. It was just wet to start.
I do remember that game last year. The first half was ugly, and the second half was pretty fun. And during the second half, I kind of got that feeling of oh, hell yeah, footy.
The difficult part now is with a day in between games, we're not going to get that nearly as much.
And here's what really fucking sucks. This is the one Friday where I have nothing going on. The way the state high school basketball tournament schedule goes, there's nothing Friday. I have no plans. I was excited to sit at home and watch a game, even if it was the Suns and Bombers. Now it's what am I gonna do?
As you're all probably aware, the Geelong-Brisbane game was sensibly moved to round 3. It's a Saturday night game, round 3, so that's a direct overlap there.
Yeah, that part I don't love.
Yeah, it's up against Hawthorn and GWS out in Launceston, which is a game I'm looking forward to.
And is my grand final pick.
We'll see my grand final pick Easter Monday. And then, ever heard of a 10-game AFL round?
Yeah, so as of now, the plan is for the Suns and Bombers to play the week, as part of round 24. So one of two things could happen. Because, they haven't announced the actual dates, obviously, for round 24 yet. Now, they could look at the schedule. They set round 24 after all the others. Probably somewhere around, round 20 or 21. They set that usually. You could look at that and decide, all right, we're going to put Gold Coast Essendon a week after. Maybe have those teams play early in round 24 and then have them play that bonus game. Or you could have one of the other games there, whether that be Essendon Carlton or Port Adelaide Gold Coast.
Whatever deciding, I imagine their goal will be disrupt finals as little as possible. Yeah, Gold Coast Essendon.
I was kind of hoping they would stick it somewhere earlier and kind of shuffle a couple other games around, but it's fine.
The team still gets their mid-season buys this way, and that was definitely a focal point in all this.
It was kind of just a question of, are we going to get, will it be a really important game or completely me? What I will say is, unlike baseball, I feel pretty good about, and this could age poorly, but I don't think it will. Sometimes with baseball, you'll have a game set to be rescheduled to like the very end of the season, and then they only end up playing it if it matters. Like, for example, the Marlins and Pirates were set up for one a few years ago that didn't end up happening.
Heck, it can happen with playoff-bound teams too. In 2006, the St. Louis Cardinals didn't play one of their regular season games because all the playoff spots were decided.
Actually, this year even, I think the Guardians and somebody didn't end up playing a 162nd game, except that one was just rained out on the final day instead of like tentatively scheduled for after the season, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah, this game's getting played because it probably will matter for some reason or another. If it's not finals, then draft spot. Smaller number of games means that pretty much every game will matter, and the beauty of the percentage tiebreaker also pretty much ensures that too. But gosh, it would be extremely funny if this was a game where you had to have like a live ladder on you constantly for it.
Any possible outcome involving this game is now funny. Whether it means everything or nothing, it's going to be entertaining.
I feel like what the league would want for this to decide spot number 8.
If that scenario came up, that would really push towards the creation of a wild card round. Just how, the wild card round in baseball was born from, a few years of exciting game 163s. First, it was the one game between 4 versus 5, and now it's the 3-game series with 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5.
I think we're trending toward that anyway because of A, the VFL, and B, the future of the league pointing toward 19 and hopefully 20 teams. Canberra team 20, please. Once there's 20, I'll feel better about it. But no more than half of a league should be making playoffs or finals or whatever you call it. The NBA went in completely the wrong direction.
Do we have any other, news stuff to get through before we preview these games? I feel like there's got to be something, right?
There have been rumors flying all over the place, so I'm not sure if any of them warrants discussion here. There was stuff last week about Victorian clubs taking a look at potential Luke Jackson backflip. I mean, if you're not trying to pay 3 first-rounders for Kazi Pickett, I wonder when you still have Sean Darcy under contract through 2030. And other just pure tabloidy nonsense as well, but it feels far too early to be talking about these sorts of trade things anyway. We got 2 games to talk about, and that feels like enough for me right now.
I wish it was more games, and even next week, when it's going to be, a very bad Richmond team that'll probably lose by a lot to Carlton, I'm excited for that, because then it'll really, that still feels like the real start of footy to me. But at least both these games should, in theory, be pretty fun.
Welcome to Mini
Gather round
in New South Wales. It all begins just like it did last year at the SCG, Sydney and Hawthorn at 7:40 p.m. local time, Friday, March 7th. That's 3:40 a.m. Eastern, 12:40 a.m. Pacific for American viewers. Remember, Americans, with daylight savings happening this weekend, times are going to start shifting even more.
Yeah, so American daylight saving comes, I guess, between this Saturday and this Sunday. And then Australian hits, in April?
I think theirs ends the first Sunday of April.
Yeah, so, to start this season, we have some much earlier games this week. I will probably actually miss the start of our Saturday night, their Sunday game. I mean, next week we're seeing games start, as early as 6:35 p.m. Pacific on Saturday.
Which I totally dig.
And then a few weeks after that, we'll be back to 2:30 a.m. bounces for the primetime games. I believe the first round after daylight saving time hits Australia is actually...
I believe it hits during round 4.
Yeah, but the first full round with, like I said, the game starting at 2:30 our time.
Oh yeah, that is in all its glory. But we've got a mini to start the season technically because all the games are in Sydney. The Swans and Hawks played once in 2024. That was before Hawthorn became Hawthorn.
It was a simpler time. It was a better time in a lot of ways.
In round 7, Hawthorn got dragged, sclounced by Sydney at the G. It was a 76-point Swans win, highlighted by Tom McCartan in defense. That's going to be different, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's one of the significant things to come with possible changes here.
So McCartan is listed as center half forward.
I mean, that was something that we saw some of in the community series, so that one isn't the biggest surprise.
Yeah, it's definitely a highlight, though, with McCartan having been the anchor in the back for so long when not concussed. But yeah, that meeting last year, I remember it because Mabior Chol got Errol Golden with high contact off the ball, was suspended for that. It undid a goal, and the game wasn't close after that. The Swans have done well in this head-to-head recently. They've won 3 in a row and 5 of 6 going back to 2019, but they'll be shorthanded in this game. They'll be without 6 players from the grand final in September.
Knowing the significance of these injuries, I am pretty concerned. So they will be without Harry Cunningham, Robbie Fox. Was he just left out?
Yeah.
That's surprising. Errol Golden, Logan McDonald, Aiden McLean, and Callum Mills.
McLean is the new one in there with a groin injury. And him being out makes it even more pressing for McCartan to succeed up front.
Now, the good news is that Tom Papley, who loves a celebration, and Brody Grundy should both be good to go.
Grundy was more of the concern with his knee. And honestly, I think the best thing about this Swans look this game is that they don't have to play Pete Laddams. I'm not apologizing for that at all.
I mean, what other alternative would they have had?
Kate Laddams.
What if you really didn't want to play him?
Well, McLean being out damages those things even more because he's one who could take a lot of the ruck time.
Which team was it we said had Lachlan Kangaroo as their doctor?
I don't think he said in general. We just put that as Roger's footy trainer alias.
I thought it was in association with a specific team.
Maybe we were talking about the Dogs?
Well, that would be offensive to Dr. Zimmerman.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of a generalized thing.
We've got both a club debut and a debut. The club debut is Ben Patton coming over from the Saints. He came in the rookie draft, played 71 games at St. Kilda.
Halfback if they desperately need help in defense on the smaller side, but a lot to prove right away. And then Tom Hanley is the league debutant. Pick 14 in the midseason draft last year out of Gippsland. That felt like a really big surprise to me, honestly, to see him in over, for example, Robbie Fox, who I've thought of as pretty versatile. No surprise that Corey Warner is in as one of the interchange guys also. With Golden out, his spot seemed even more obvious. And there is a milestone. It'll be game number 250 for Jake Lloyd. Expect him to be up on the wing as well, trying to make up for Golden's absence.
So Fox was just listed as straight up omitted?
Yep, no injury attachment there.
Am I making this up? Has he ever played back? Because he's listed on their roster as a forward.
Yeah, but he's only kicked 15 goals for his career. I mean, he is relatively versatile. I'm kind of surprised that they don't have him in alongside Patton. And he's a common enough sub pick, too. Please don't make Hanley the sub.
Why? Why not? Now that you don't have to wait for someone to actually get hurt, I have no issue with it.
I still don't like the idea of having somebody be on debut and then play for like 5 minutes or so.
As long as they get in, I don't care. Leaving Robbie Fox out is like if Chris Scott was their coach, you know what I'd expect.
What?
A late change.
Well, looking at the emergencies, Fox isn't even one of those.
Wow.
It's Pete fucking Laddams, Caleb Mitchell, and Aaron Francis.
Could there be an injury they're not telling us about?
I wouldn't think so. Why would you be hiding something about Robbie Fox?
I don't know.
I think the Swans have geared up for this to be a fast-paced game. I think Hawthorne's style plays into that obviously as well. The Swans can push the pace and did that well enough for 2 of their finals at least. Hawthorne have kept out a couple of the old guys. We won't be seeing Luke Bruce and Jack Gunston here in opening round, and those are just straight up omissions.
The Gunston one is a little surprising to me because Cal Sherdier's out for, I think, probably, I've seen it estimated as like maybe 5 or 6 weeks to start the year. So I thought for the sake of having a tall forward, they would go to him. Instead, it's really just Mabior Chol is the one true tall forward. And then they're also listing Will Day at forward, which could kind of fuck me in fantasy. I'm hoping he still gets his disposals.
Yep, he would. I don't trust that James Sicily is going to be staying on the center line. I mean, we know he's going to get some forward time. I think that's just he's starting, but he doesn't really have to be in the back. So I don't think that's a major concern there, honestly. But yeah, a smaller look for Hawthorne. Chol will be carrying the weight there, and Sicily could definitely leap above his size too. We'll see how he's managed along with Blake Hardwick. Harry Morrison gets the nod.
Harry!
Going off his good form at the end of last year. And Cam McKenzie backed in too. I wouldn't be surprised if he is the sub, actually.
McKenzie?
Depends on if you want a tag job, maybe.
It would be really interesting if it was McKenzie after people hyped him up so much in the preseason.
I think it's one of them as.
I guess by not playing Gunston, I guess you're not really quite playing the matchups unless, you do some stuff with Sicily going forwards.
Sicily, Hardwick, either of them, whichever works.
I just think there's a lot there to exploit. And it's a little surprising they're not doing that, but they are clearly backing in their small forwards, which is going to be part of this team's success one way or the other. Massimo D'Ambrosio being listed at center instead of halfback.
I mean, that just screams wink to me. That, I think, backs him in for his proper role. Center doesn't have to mean center square. But the biggest changes are obviously in the back because we're seeing the new look with Barris and Battle in there. Oh yeah, common thread throughout this opening round. Former Saints. 3 of 4 teams will be debuting former Saints in new colors.
Josh, what's a battle?
What's a battle?
And I guess the other must be Tim Membry then.
Yup. I was going back and looking through stuff from the trade period and seeing the stuff with Tom Barris and his initial media. And I can't get over the fact that one of the very first things they posted, maybe the very first, almost makes it look like Barris is the third Gallagher brother. Noel, Liam, and Tom Barris.
This is an Oasis thing, not a Smashing Watermelons thing.
Absolutely. Some might say the sunshine follows thunder.
Darn, I was hoping for Smashing Watermelons.
You just saying smashing now makes me think of somebody who I don't think is on an AFL list at all this year, Sam Durden. Remember the Carlton player who they called Nige?
Oh, yeah. You're right.
The Swans are favored by 1.5, so 50% more than you get just for having a crack.
You get a point just for having a crack.
I gotta back in Hawthorne here. I would love to see the Swans win. Maybe they do because they're at home. But boy, I think it's going to be a tough matchup against a team that's going to look much more like their usual self. Sydney's going to have to piece some stuff together. For Sydney to win this game, I think someone's going to have to kind of surprise us.
Partly cloudy weather, no rain expected on Friday, thankfully, and reasonably windy. So maybe the move is keep the game closer to ground, and maybe the shorter players will be better at that. Because it looks like winds could steadily be, around 15 miles per hour, or what is that, 24 kilometers an hour?
I don't know. I don't do communism.
I think the Swans' weaknesses and what they're missing in this game, particularly defensively, will play into Hawthorne's hands if Nick Watson can kick straight.
Unfortunately, I think he's set on that front. I hope he's not.
That whole Gen Alpha fodder group there between Watson, Ginnivan, and McDonald, this is going to be the reputation of Jack Ginnivan as annoying Gen Alpha fodder rather than annoying Collingwood Premiership player. And I still like the guy too, it just happens to be grouped in with those.
I like him off the oval much more.
You know, Benjamin, 78% of our listeners are between 18 and 35 years old, so they probably want to start a podcast like we did. How did you know that number, Ethan? Thanks to the analytics we have for Spotify for Podcasters. Formerly known as Anchor, sorry Frio fans, Spotify for Podcasters has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your phone or your computer. No fancy software needed. It's so easy you can edit it while drunk. And Spotify for Podcasters doesn't just allow you to upload to Spotify, you can also distribute your podcast on platforms like Apple, Stitcher, and more, just like we do. Best of all, it's completely free. Not only is it free, you can even make money from listener support or ad revenue. Hint, hint. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to podcasters.spotify.com to get started today.
We're in home and away season mode here on Americans Watching the Footy. We're previewing games again. It feels right to me. I'm Benjamin Castle at BenjaminHK01. I'm the one trying to be a teacher down here in San Diego.
I'm Ethan at Castle Media. Brian Harambe is not in the room currently. He is on Instagram at @catnamebrian. He actually just recently gave a really profound breakdown of the transcendentalism in Fyodor Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov. You should definitely check it out on his Instagram.
Wise beyond his years, that cat. We've arrived at the final game of the round, and it's the same as the final game of opening round last year, which was also the last time the Giants and Pies met.
Last year, this round was during the state basketball championships. I said that's a week later this year, so I'm going to be like catching up a lot on round one. I'll be getting home, I don't know, second or third quarter on Saturday, and then I'll probably just go back and watch it from the top. After round one, almost everything's going to be live, though.
Excellent.
Last year, opening round, forward Callum Brown, who was a forward, kicked 5 goals. Jesse Hogan and Brent Daniels, each with 4 goals. Felt in a lot of ways like kind of an evening out for everything Collingwood did the year before, because they missed a bunch of shots instead of having like incredible accuracy and efficiency. Collingwood struggled to defend 1v1. And the Giants won by 32. That was also kind of like the first meeting after Mason Cox's petting zoo comments. The GWS banner said, "Watch out for the sheep," and Collingwood's banner said, "The hate us."
Just a step below, he hate me.
I think more of, it would be really funny, if Kendrick sang, "The not like us, the not like us." Or I also think of that Michael Vick tweet.
Which one?
"Only the survive."
Thank you for reminding me of that.
Is it take a look y'all level? No, but it's pretty funny.
Both teams coming in reasonably shorthanded as well, but Collingwood are favored by over a goal as we look at things right now by 6.5. And that's because even with Dan Houston being suspended for this game and no Jordan DeGoey, this lineup in most respects does remain intact. Raiden Maynard is able to play, and you've got debuts in for Harry Perryman and Tim Membry. Still can't believe they got Membry so easily. The Saints just let him walk despite his accuracy and efficiency.
Is he amazing? No, but he's pretty solid.
And he's going to be in a by-committee type role along with some other good goal-kicking M's in McStay and Myachek.
And again, I just think he and Bo McCreary can really play off each other.
You see, I don't understand that pairing as much because I see McCreary as playing off the ground, and I can see him as playing off Membry. I don't see Membry playing the other way around off McCreary.
I just think the work McCreary does will open up a couple of opportunities for Membry. But yeah, GWS is going to be really shorthanded, honestly. Jesse Hogan broke his thumb in a bathroom door. Was it on a bus or something?
It was, and it was after the preseason game in Canberra.
Tom Green's out 1 to 2 weeks with a calf injury, which I don't think is necessarily an enormous loss. Some nights I really like him. Other nights he's kind of like Jack Viney-ish, barely scratching 50 to 55% efficiency. But I get the feeling you'll miss just having that physical ball winner. I don't know who kind of steps up in that regard. Maybe this is the start of a big year for Stephen Cornelio. I just think, they have guys who can pick up a lot of touches. I just don't know if physically, Callan Ward and Josh Kelly are the guys to necessarily make that up.
Kelly is good on the efficiency side, but yeah, Green, just be willing to barrel through things. That's the type of thing that will probably be missing in this game in comparison.
And yeah, you're also down Jake Stringer with his hamstring. So, I mean, your forward line to start the year.
Remember, there's no Jake Riccardi either because he was part of the Mad Monday crew. So Aaron Cadman, welcome to primetime. You are the prime target for the first time in your career.
And New York. Yeah, your opening round forward line for the Giants. Darcy Jones in his helmet, Aaron Cadman, Lockie Keefe. Now, on the extended bench, you've got options like Max Grajewski, Callum Brown, who's a forward.
Could see a debut with James Leake, who's been waiting a season plus now. But yeah, this is not going to be an experienced tall group. This game is going to be won by the smalls if the Giants can manage it.
Now, last year, home teams won 3 out of 4 opening round games, the one being Brisbane blowing it to Carlton. I've got both away teams winning. I've got Collingwood here. I think by the end of the year, GWS will be fine. And again, I'm picking them to win the whole thing. I think they'll have some fresher legs towards the end of the year and end up looking like one of the more complete teams. It might be not a great start to the year.
Looked at their schedule the last time. It's a pretty rough opening. And even with some of the strengths in the Giants' back line, I can see them being overwhelmed by the by-committee approach. Plus, you could get Darcy Cameron crashing in there on the tall side, too. Yes, the game's moving away from a big key forward group in some respect, but this matchup, I think, favors that on the Pies side. I mean, I like Sam Taylor and Connor Iden. I want to put faith in Harry Himmelberg. I just don't see that holding up for an entire game. Without even trying, I just named that entire fullback group. Jack Buckley's going to have a big role to play as well. Just how do you sort out the matchups here, honestly? Taylor on...
I would think Myachek, honestly, even though Myachek's technically listed at half forward. And then I think maybe Iden gets Bobby Hill.
Buckley on McStay or Membry then?
Yeah, I think this is a tough one because there aren't like a lot of obvious matchups other than maybe Taylor Myachek.
Oh, I just realized the answer in the Giants midfield. X gonna give it to him.
If we could get one of the better games out of Xavier O'Halloran, that's the sort of thing that can give you a shot.
Remember, he didn't even want to be there.
He wanted to go where?
Bulldogs. I believe his grandfather was a premiership player for them. Now, in Xavier O'Halloran's best game last year, for which he somehow didn't receive votes, he kicked 4 goals in a loss in Launceston.
Yeah, he has never received a Brownlow vote in his career. So he played in 19 games last year, left out a couple of times in the middle of the season, and then worked his way back in.
He was that next guy up there in the midfield often. So, I mean, you can't really replace Tom Green, but I think they're going to try their damnedest to do that. With Toby Bedford being a factor, do you see a tag being applied here?
Yes, maybe it's too obvious and they don't do it from the very start, but I feel like at some point it's going to get deployed.
Also want to mention, we're going to have another 250th game in this one because it'll be number 250 and number 238 consecutively for Jack Crisp.
I think just knowing the injury situation for this game, if he has a good game, GWS is in deep shit, knowing the limits they've already got.
By the way, if Crisp is able to keep his streak going, he'd be on track to break Jim Steins' Ironman record in round 8.
Watch him pull a hamstring a week or two before he'd get there.
Oh, please no. At least we know that he won't just be omitted on the verge of breaking an Ironman record. I think it was Jack Nunes when he was playing for the Saints. He was either a game away from tying the club Ironman record or he had tied it, and then he was straight up omitted. Of course, the next year, we came to know Jack Nunes because he was incorrectly awarded a shot after the siren for the Blues.
Just saw an interesting news thing if we want to transition on to other games. So are you going Hawthorne and Collingwood as well?
I am.
It looks like Sam Lawler could be back in time for next week, possibly. Not certain, but not out of the realm of possibility. I've been unable to eat solid food lately, but did well in today's match sim, at least in the non-contact stuff.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing as much of the Uze 7 as possible right away. Also, I feel like we need to have a soft spot for Harry Perryman because his nickname is Pez, and that just makes me think of the bygone museum of Pez memorabilia in our hometown.
It doesn't exist anymore? I forgot. Shit. Never went inside it.
We passed by it all the time, though. It was like right by the music store that I would go to for stuff.
Closed in 2019, yeah. It was open for a little under 25 years. I can't think of the last time I've seen Pez anywhere. Honest question, does anyone even have them? When is the last time you saw even a Pez dispenser?
I can't remember seeing one either.
Our grandma had, like, a Mickey Mouse one.
Geez, that might have been it then.
I don't know of any time I've seen one anywhere else. Now I want to be on the lookout. I want to be on the lookout for Pez.
Let's see, is there any other news to cover? I mean, we've seen some contract extensions lately. Andrew Brayshaw locked up until 2031. We knew that was going to happen, so he's there long-term, as is Hayden Young. Saints have announced a big batch. Jack Higgins and Mitch Owens among those that have signed until 2029. Was surprised to see Hunter Clark get an extension to 2027 as well, because he strikes me as Footy's answer to Martin Havlet.
It just seems like, that's someone that, knowing his injury history, you probably, go shorter term with. Also, he's, a decent player, whereas Marty Havlet, like, when he was healthy, was really good.
I don't know, and mainly, I thought Hunter Clark was older than 25 also. I think that's part of it.
Yeah, he looks a little older because of the hairline, but not that much older.
I think it's just the injury history then.
Anything else to go over? Main character picks?
Oh shit, yeah, main character. Yeah, let's bring that back.
I mean, I guess we kind of have one with, is it hurricane? First off, what do we know so far about, like, how bad the storm actually is?
There's going to be landfall potentially by the time this is out, but also biggest impact late Friday, early Saturday. Looks like right now it's a category 2 and not expected to get higher, but small chance it could get to Cat 3. Yeah, we're not used to getting cyclones or hurricanes here on this side of the Pacific, but in the Atlantic states, oh boy.
The thing with this is, like, knowing that games have been postponed, it's like, you hope that nobody's in danger, but you hope it's, like, a good enough storm that at least you feel like, yeah, this was the right decision. Does that make sense?
Well, at least for you, the Cats fan, Geelong can kind of still have a mini bye between Thursday and Easter Monday.
I'm just pretty annoyed that I will be watching our first game from state basketball championships instead of my room.
Could get one of my housemates to watch the Giants game with me on Saturday if they're around. Honestly, these first couple rounds will be better for that with these earlier games happening. Earlier for us, the 7:20 and 6:30 games.
I don't love it because, like, other things going on. If I didn't have things going on, I'd probably be more up for it.
Have to have a non-cyclone main character pick, though. Who would yours be, Ethan?
Bobby Hill seems too easy. Jack Ginnivan seems too easy. Let's go James Sicily.
I like it, especially with his potential to play in some different spots on the Oval. You took one from Friday. I'll take one from Sunday then. And that's going to be... Toby Green seems too obvious. Let's go with the other Toby instead. Snooze.
All right. Sounds good. We don't have much else to really say here, so I think we'll meet again Sunday night.
Sunday US, Monday Australia, to break down this pair of games. That's all I'll say.
That's all I have to say about that.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for talking footy. And hopefully we'll bring in some new people as the year goes on. Let's do
that, buddy. He's at Castle Media. I'm at Benjamin HK01.
Brian Harambe is on Instagram at cat named Brian, and hopefully by the end of the weekend we'll really feel like it's footy. I think it will. When do you think? Here, we'll close with this. It took until the second half of the first game to really feel like it's footy. At least for me last year. When do you think it'll feel like it's footy?
The first time beyond the first quarter that we have any sort of minor dust up with the players coming together. So I'll say, like, I don't know, mid-second quarter. The crowd's going to be a big factor in it too.
All right, sounds good.
Good time of day.